Hello, 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 everybody. I see spies in here. Well, I had to go do a few things this morning. I went to the store, got some more popsicles and ice cream because very hot again today. Chico survived in there. He trying to stay cool. Put some ice cubes in his water dish. Ariella, she chirping away. I can't believe how much stuff is coming out, you guys. I wasn't going to come on till 5 to go 5 to 9, but of course, Billy came out. Uh, Billy just came out with her first one. Did she come out last night? 6 minute one, I believe she had. So we got two Billies to catch up on. And then Nell has an hour video. And I got some new ones that are really good to share. A lot of good stuff. So, you feeling relaxed today, KK? Ready to roll for two more shows? Lucy, Mom. I didn't get my cookies yet. What you say, Lucy? Yeah. Oh, jeez. Kennedy's, Kenny's bringing it, okay? How you say it? He's attacking another lady. Oh, my God. I just found another one. Just came out. Where do we start off? Thank you, Carol. A lot of big intel again today. I guess we should do the Billy Bean videos first, I guess. Before she comes out with the new one, another one. And I do got one video that Kim was saying about the. Oh wait, Lori was saying last night about the data center. I don't think I played that guy at Shark Tank. He had a video out. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Hopefully everybody's listening at work. Hope everyone's having a first day back from the long holiday weekend. Bad weather all weekend. So we'll play the first two. We'll get Billy's videos out. First one, 6 minutes. I had to say cool, buddy. What happened?
Flash update, May 26th, 2026. time in
right.
Texas about 5
26
a.m.
number yesterday.
So we have from Skylab that in the future, this year, it may be that New York City will suffer a flood as we've had in the past. No doubt impacted by several factors. We have from Mary Greeley that Yellowstone in the past 30 hours has had 64 earthquakes. And we know about a year ago, the USGS and NOAA took the Yellowstone seismic zone offline to the public. So it was then that we thought something must be going on at Yellowstone. And we have this. We've had CMEs and flares on the far side of the sun, but they have ignited an S1 radiation proton storm on the Earth today. We've had a 6.7 earthquake yesterday in Chile. That was about 25 miles deep. So that's going on. And an Ebola update in the Congo, Sudan, and Uganda. The number of cases has surged to 900 with 200 dead. So that's going on. We see it spreading and spreading. And we have this from Tusi TV. So yesterday in Iran, President Trump okayed strikes on Iran in the previous 48 hours and also late yesterday. From Tusi, in Baghdad, Iraq, there were hits on an IRGC location that took out 5 senior Quds leaders. So that happened yesterday. And we have this from U.S. Intel, putting out information CENTCOM released late yesterday that in the previous 48 hours, so about May 23, 24, the IRGC opened one of its missile silos in southern Iran to hit U.S. warships. The U.S. ships responded and made at least several hits on Bandar Abbas, a port of Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. At that same time, about 48 hours ago, the U.S. military sank several of the Iranian fast boats and killed 4 or 5 Iranian Navy sailors who were laying mines again in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this information is coming out via U.S. Intel, but released by CENTCOM. Also, late last night, there were at least 13 explosions in Iran's Bandar Abbas port near the Strait of Hormuz. Also, the airport in that area was hit. The U.S. hit Bandar Abbas last night at least 13 times plus. Additional explosions were heard in the Iranian cities of Kur, Isfahan, Qum, and Ardabil. So that went on. President Trump okayed those hits 48 hours ago, so late Friday or early Saturday, and then again late yesterday. And we have this from Military Summary. Also, over the weekend, Russia hit Kiev with 2 ICBMs, Oreshneks. We don't have a full tally yet of the damage nor any deaths. But we also yesterday were made aware that Russia is warning in Kiev all citizens and foreigners to immediately evac. It appears that Russia plans to hit Kiev and take out decision and control centers for both the government and the Iranian military in Kiev. So this concludes my flash. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, that was last night. I got a 14-1 from this morning.
$8:26. I'm in Texas about 1 p.m. How fast can the deep state get Ebola spread in the U.S.? We'll talk about it. And Iran continues offensive strikes against the U.S. and then blames the U.S. military for terrorism and piracy in the Strait of Hormuz. It's just like the Democrats. When they're doing something illegal, they blame the Republicans. Well, here we have on a world stage Iran doing this and that and blaming the U.S. So let's get started. I have to say, with regard to the Ebola, that I'm continuing to become more alarmed. And
hey, have you been researching dental implants? Did you know you can now get permanent teeth in just 24 hours?
I see a direct path in which Ebola could easily spread across the U.S. We have this coming out from Forbes. So we have Big Pharma bringing out another experimental inoculation. They're calling it a vaccine. But what a vaccine is something like a distilled water and the dead virus or bacteria shot into the human body, and then the human body responds by building antibodies. That's the definition of a vaccine. We had a U.S. court come out and say the COVID was not a vaccine. It was a gene editing product based on mRNA technology. And we're hearing that several groups are doing clinical tests for the Ebola vaccine, but they state it's the same technology as we saw with the COVID, which means it is not a vaccine, it's a gene editing therapy, which changes your DNA. Now, it's my geopolitical position that deep state didn't get enough deaths of multiple populations in the world with the COVID. So they're going to come along with a juiced up version of the Ebola, this new strain we're hearing about. And I submit, as we go along, just like we saw, and my research also revealed, the COVID was a bioweapon. It had been taken into a lab and juiced up with this and that, including HIV, a little bit of Ebola. That was the contagion part. The HIV was a part to take down the human immune system. The COVID was a bioweapon, as testified to by two Texas A&M profs, both of whom had 50 years of experience in bioweapons. We also had, I think his name was Jean-Luc.
I got a couple videos.
Montier from France. He was a virologist who had co-discovered
said something.
HIV. He had also been teaching in a university in China and said that the COVID started at the Wuhan lab in China and was a bioweapon. Of course, he passed away pretty soon after he made those public statements. So Forbes brings this out, Ebola vaccine. Now going through clinical trials. And I put this out as I recall my research and also the research done by Dr. John Campbell. He's a nursing prof, PhD in the UK. He arrived at the same conclusions I did, that the COVID did not go through clinical trials. They began with just one test group of 10 mice. They all died. So they dispensed with animal testing and went straight on in to shooting up as many humans as they could induce to take the COVID inoculation. So that's what we're seeing again. And they plainly say this Ebola vaccine is experimental and that they're currently testing animals. I believe at Oxford is one of the places they're testing. Now we have this. We also have in Africa an institute, the Institute of India.
One tiny flaw ruins most grounding shoes, but grounded footwear fixed it. You see, most grounding shoes use a
is then going to mass produce the so-called vaccine, which I submit, they say it's the same technology as the COVID. The COVID was determined to not be a vaccine, but a gene therapy. And we have today a rise in the number of deaths and cases in Africa, pushing on up 950 to 1,000 cases, a rise in deaths up to 220. And we've had the third attack in 4 days on the medical facilities in the Congo. This young man brought a gun and started shooting up the medical center. He wanted to claim the dead body of a family member. They had there 18 people who were being treated for the Ebola, who then fled back into their communities. Expect a much wider spread. And the UN says the Ebola in Africa, we were seeing it in 3 countries, the Congo, Sudan, and Uganda. The UN says it now likely will spread to 10 countries. So that's going on. And what do we have going on in the US? And I have to say this. A few years ago, when Obama was in office, we had 2 cases of Ebola in the US. It was at that time that I began to lose faith in the CDC. On one of the big channels, TV channels, we had a representative from the CDC talking about treating Ebola and said that you could wear gloves if you wanted to. I mean, Ebola is a bio-level 4 contagion. You have everything on, plus a separate oxygen tank on your back, so you're not even breathing the same air. If that's the best the CDC can do with regard to Ebola, and it's my personal belief that based on what I'm hearing now, I believe we're going to see it spread in the U.S. Now, we saw the State Department put in place only one airport, Dulles and Washington. Could U.S. citizens come in who had been in certain parts of Africa in the last 21 days? Now they're including Atlanta and Bush International in Houston. And the way they're going to do it, if a person has been in certain parts of Africa in the last 21 days, they're going to screen them at the airport. You know, you come on in here, we're going to take your temperature like that. But all those other people on the plane with you, well, hey, they can just go on about their business through the airport and back to their communities. Do you see a problem with this method of screening for Ebola, a bio-level 4 disease? Just saying. But when you big pharma wants something, they can pay off a whole lot of people. So that's going on. And now we'll talk about what's going on in Iran. So in my earlier video today, I brought out that probably about Friday or Saturday morning, there had been a dust-up between the U.S. military and Iran because Iran was engaging in offensive strikes, trying to hit U.S. warplanes and so on. And the U.S. responded defensively. We have today Iran once again operating offensively against the U.S. military. We have this from 2CTV, that we have the IRGC now launching drones and missiles against the U.S. military, and of course, the U.S. military responding defensively. CENTCOM makes a point to state that the U.S. is not breaking the ceasefire, but that the U.S. military is responding defensively. So that's going on. And we have this.
This German steel trimmer blade replaces every nylon spool on the market and never breaks on contact with rocks, roots, or fence posts. Every nylon trimmer head has the same fundamental flaw.
So we have that. Also, senior leaders of the IRGC inside southern Lebanon near the Strait of Hormuz have been hit by the U.S. and taken down. The U.S. has also hit an IRGC airport near the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM says it's self-defense. And we have this. We have now that Iran was also firing missiles and drones toward U.S. warships again today. For some reason, Iran wants to reignite a conflict. We have Israel continuing in self-defense against the Iranian proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. We have the president of Iran, Prigozhin, claiming that the U.S. military are terrorists and they are engaging in piracy in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, who is it who's firing on commercial ships and tankers? It isn't the U.S. unless they try to run the blockade, but it is Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. And we have this. So we have the UK regarding the Strait of Hormuz, that, yes, when there's no more shooting, the UK and Europe Well, they're going to come in and help patrol the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. So that's going on. So this concludes my flash update. No doubt I'll be back later today.
Oh, no
I love
doubt.
you, and I'll see you soon.
Must be a long one. So we got 3
To
short
compare the threat, it
Kennedy videos next.
is,
9 minutes.
close parentheses, but that they are bigots. End of quote. Did I quote that correctly?
I believe you did.
Did you write that?
I did write that when I was 18 years old.
Biden judicial nominee Rita Lynn walked into that Senate Judiciary confirmation hearing as a Harvard-educated California state judge with a spotless resume. Senator John Kennedy had one thing, a 1998 Journal article written by the woman sitting across from him, calling millions of American Christians bigots. Lynn apologized for her words. Then Kennedy asked one question that made the apology irrelevant. You were a grown woman when you wrote this. What happens next is what happens when a judicial nominee tries to distance herself from her own published record and sits across from someone who actually read it. Subscribe. Let's roll the tape.
you only need a small dab to reduce the appearance of puffiness and dark circles.
That's exactly what I needed.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, $118 for car insurance. That's how much I was paying, okay? I picked up the car a few months ago.
Given 50 seconds to ask each of you questions and to hear your answers, which of course is patently absurd. So I'd ask if you would just answer my question directly. This isn't a question, Judge Gray. I may vote for you anyway, but I'll commit right now in front of God and country to vote for you if you'll move back to Louisiana. Judge Lynn, I've read a number of your writings. I want to, you wrote an article in December of 1998 entitled Person of Faith, Race and Religion as Experiential Knowledge. You wrote it in a journal called Perspective. And this is what you said, I quote, your words, not mine. The problem with the Christian coalition is not that they are Bible thumpers, parentheses, there are personal beliefs that often result from religious experiences, close parentheses, but that they are bigots, end of quote. Did I quote that correctly?
I believe you did.
Did you write that?
I did write that when I was 18 years old. Or 20 years old, excuse me. I do want to be clear. I do not agree with that today. I wrote that before I went to law school, before I had any kind of
You were a grown woman when you wrote this.
I'm sorry.
You were a grown woman when you wrote this.
I was 20 years old when I wrote it. It was before I had a professional career.
You were in your third year at Harvard?
I was
a senior at Harvard.
I was a junior at Harvard.
Junior. So you were 3/4 of the way through your Harvard education and you wrote that.
That is correct, Senator. It is 20 years before I became a judge. I do not agree with it today. I do want to be clear about that.
Okay. Judge Simmons, let me just ask you a couple of questions. You finished law school in 2004?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you ever tried a case in federal court?
I have not seen there.
Have you ever filed a brief in federal court?
I have not practiced in federal court. My entire practice has been in the state court.
Okay. Have you ever argued a motion in federal court?
I have my entire practice of over 12 years as a prosecutor has been in state court, Senator.
Okay. Have you ever, you serve as a state court judge. Have you ever presided over a jury trial as a state court judge?
In the 5 years that I've been on the Superior Court bench, I have been in a moving department, and now I'm the supervising judge.
Have you ever tried a jury trial?
As a attorney, I have tried.
No, as a judge.
As a judge, I have presided over court trials, not jury trials, sir.
No, so the answer is no.
I have not presided over jury trials as a judge.
Have you, in the 5 years you've been on the state bench, have you ever written any opinions, issued any opinions?
Well, sir, I've been in moving departments in the 5 years that I've been as a Superior Court judge. We don't issue written opinions in moving departments on the Superior
So the answer is no.
In the 5 years I've been on the Superior Court, I've been in moving departments. We don't issue written opinions in moving departments.
Okay. What is the standard of review in federal court for questions of fact?
For questions of fact by the trial court, it is clear error, sir.
Okay. What's the standard of review for questions of law?
In the trial court level is de novo.
Okay. What is the...
American drivers are learning about a new way to save that most didn't even know about that may help ease the impact of the rising cost of car insurance. Here is Nadia with more.
That's right, American drivers.
What's the holding in Map v. Ohio?
Map v. Ohio, since I've been practicing as a district attorney for the last 12 years, as well as a Superior Court judge over the last 5 years, I know what the holding, it escapes me as I currently sit here, but
okay. What's the Chevron doctrine? You'll see that a lot.
Yes, Chevron deference refers to an administrative agency that's interpreting its own rule. It created a two-part step test. The first step in that test is whether Congress was clear.
You know it. I got you. What's the political question doctrine?
I have not, as a Superior Court judge in the last 5 years and as a deputy district attorney for 12 years, I have not practiced in a federal court. So if I am so fortunate to be confirmed, I will obviously apply the applicable law.
Okay, I want to talk about the United States Constitution. Is it a doctrine of plenary powers or enumerated powers?
Enumerated powers, sir.
Okay. I yield back 1 second, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy.
Here's what the media won't tell you. Lynn didn't come to that hearing expecting her college writings to become the centerpiece of her confirmation. She came prepared to discuss her 12 years of legal experience and her record on the California Superior Court bench. And the moment Kennedy opened that journal article, the entire preparation became irrelevant. First, the bigots article. Kennedy pulled out Lynn's December 1998 piece from a Harvard journal called Perspective and read it directly into the record. The problem with the Christian Coalition is not that they are Bible thumpers, but that they are bigots. Did I quote that correctly? Lynn said, yes. Did you write that? I did write that when I was 18 years old. Kennedy stopped her immediately. You were a grown woman when you wrote this. Lynn corrected herself. I was 20. I was a junior at Harvard. Kennedy let that land. So you were 3/4 of the way through your Harvard education and you wrote that. Lynn said she does not agree with it today. Kennedy said, wow, and moved on. Second, the experience gap. Kennedy turned to Judge Simmons and kept it surgical. Have you ever tried a case in federal court? No, sir. Have you ever filed a brief in federal court? No, sir. Have you ever argued a motion in federal court? No, sir. Have you ever presided over a jury trial as a state judge? No, sir. Have you ever written a judicial opinion in 5 years on the bench? No, sir. We don't issue written opinions in moving departments. Kennedy absorbed every answer without comment and kept going. Third, the legal knowledge test. Kennedy asked Judge Simmons the standard of review questions every first-year law student knows cold. Standard of review for questions of fact, clear error. Standard of review for questions of law, de novo. Then Kennedy went further. What is the holding in Map v. Ohio? It escapes me as I currently sit here. What is Chevron deference? Simmons began explaining it. Kennedy said, you know what, I got you, and moved to the next question. What is the political question doctrine? Simmons said she had not practiced in federal court and would apply the law if confirmed. Kennedy asked one final question. Is the Constitution a doctrine of plenary powers or enumerated powers? Enumerated powers. Kennedy yielded back. Lynn came to that hearing hoping her Harvard degree would speak for itself. Kennedy made sure her Harvard article spoke louder. Simmons came to that hearing with 12 years of prosecutorial experience. Kennedy spent 3 minutes finding out none of it was in federal court. You tell me if either of these nominees was ready for a lifetime appointment to the federal bench. Like, subscribe, share.
Get the gear that works as hard as you do.
Yeah, we'll do one more, Kennedy. Another minute.
State and enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male or female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary. End quote. Did I read that accurately?
I do not know because I don't have the article in front of me.
Well, I do.
A Biden judicial nominee walked into that Senate confirmation hearing and said she didn't know what her own published article said. Not once, not twice, 4 separate times. Senator John Kennedy had every single article sitting right in front of him. What happened next is what happens when a judge who wrote extensively about identity politics, radical gender ideology, and judges attending protests tries to pretend she doesn't remember any of it. Subscribe. Let's roll the tape.
Thank you, Senator Butler. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Wise, you're not being honest with us, are you?
That is incorrect.
Well, we all may be poorer under President Biden, but we're not stupid. We have a long list of your articles and your opinions and your political statements. On March 8, 2017, you wrote an article for Time magazine while you were a sitting judge. It's entitled Judge, Gender Laws Are at Odds with Science. I'm going to quote your words.
2 shows today.
When legislators blur the lines of church and state and enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male or female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary. End quote. Did I read that accurately?
I do not know because I don't have the article in front of me.
Well, I do. You also said in that article, quote, your words, not mine, sex has countless natural permutations, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe that is consistent with medical science and under the Daubert standard, the science that comes in as expert testimony in trials.
On October 13, 2020, while you were serving as a state judge, you wrote an article for The Atlantic entitled, quote, your words, not mine, America's judiciary doesn't look like America. And you criticized this committee and President Trump for his judicial nominees. You said, quote, these are your words, not mine. The judiciary crafted over the past 4 years does not look like America. Not one of these judges is black, and more than 90% were raised or currently identify as Christians. I don't know how you knew that. And then you say, quote, your words, not mine. Identity is the lens that filters everything and everyone we encounter. End quote. Did I read that correctly?
Again, I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
I got it right here. You wrote another article on July 31, 2020 for the San Francisco Daily Journal, in which you advocate for the right of sitting judges to be able to go to protests, didn't you?
That is incorrect.
No, it's not. I'm looking at right here. This is what you say. No judge should be ethical. Your words, not mine. You just said you didn't say them. You turned these articles over. No judge should be ethically constrained from speaking or taking action that reinforces that constitutional and moral imperative. May judges participate in demonstrations that denounce racism, support equal justice, and reinforce our constitutional rights to free speech and peaceable assembly? Yes. End quote. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
If you're a federal judge, are you going to go to protests?
I would like to answer the substance of the underlying question that was asked.
I'd like you to answer my question. I've only got another minute or so. If you're a federal, let me put it another way. Have you ever gone to a protest, a public protest, while you're a sitting judge?
Senator Kennedy, the article that you are referring to.
Have you ever gone
written...
to a protest while you're a sitting judge?
I do not believe that I have ever attended a protest
Gloria.
as a sitting judge,
perhaps
ever in my life.
Uh-huh. And you talk about Girls Inc. You say you've never heard of them. You were on the, or you don't know that much about them. You were on the board from 2014 to 2024. You're still on their board, aren't you?
I'm not. My term expired this last month.
And you've given them over $50,000, haven't you?
I do not believe that is correct.
That's what your report says. And this is the same Girls Inc. that says, quote, on its website, here's how they define girls. Quote, girls refers to gender expansive youth, cis girls, trans girls, non-binary youth, gender and non-conforming youth, gender queer youth, and any girl identified youth. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know. I've never heard of that policy or that definition from Girls Inc.
Listen, in spite of your, can I just have 30 more seconds? In spite of your strongly held political beliefs, and we've got all of them, all your articles, they're as long as King Kong's are you telling us today, do you believe that you will not allow your strongly held political beliefs to influence your judicial opinions? Do you believe that?
The best evidence of the type of federal judge I will be,
yes,
the type of
do you
judge.
Believe that? Do you believe that?
It's the type of judge I have been for 10 years, who is one who always puts the law above my personal.
Do you also believe in Bigfoot? Do you believe in the tooth fairy?
Your time has expired, Senator.
Do you believe Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes?
Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ghost your ROI worry.
They are afraid to answer the questions, right, you guys? Afraid to answer the questions. I got 2 short ones, and then we're going to do that hour Mel video. I'm not sure what she's going to talk about.
DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey. All right, Richard, I just want to play just a little bit here. This is from when that shooting was actually happening. This clip is brief, but I think it's instructive. I want to get your reaction after this.
President Trump has said a deal is close, only for the two sides to remain far apart.
I have stood on the North Lawn more times than I can count, and that's a harrowing moment playing out there in real time. Your reaction to watching that, and I should just say this at the very outset, thank God for the Secret Service getting the job done and neutralizing the circumstance.
Well, I appreciate that. And the Secret Service agents and uniformed division officers that were manning that post did a fantastic job of returning fire and neutralizing the threat. You know, when you approach that post at 17th and Penn, there is a tremendous manpower presence at that location, as is at 14th Street and Penn. And, you know, when this subject drew his weapon, he was met with a heavily armed, heavy volley of gunfire, as you can clearly hear.
Let me share this, gentlemen. Jonathan, get you to weigh in on this. This is Nazir Best's criminal history, and it's quite lengthy, frankly. And it's very recent, and I think I want to draw your attention to that. You see involuntarily committed for obstructing a White House vehicle access in June, then in July arrested again, then in August a bench warrant issued for failing to appear. This is someone who was clearly disturbed, but was making himself known as a bit of a nuisance in and around the White House complex, and I think that bears pointing out.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting part of this for a couple of reasons. One, you have this mental health issue where he had, I think, previously been hospitalized for it. And it kind of brings you back to the Erna Zaruska case in Charlotte, where her killer had multiple issues. And instead of anyone doing anything about it, he was just allowed to remain on the street. So you have to look at this. Was there an opportunity to maybe civilly commit this person because there are of the mental health issues and the danger issues? And plus, there was a bench warrant issued in August of 2025. So was anyone doing anything to find this guy? Because, you know, he does, you know, it would be easy in a way to dismiss this as sort of just a mental health issue. But remember, with all this rhetoric going on, this over-the-top rhetoric comparing Trump to Nazis and stuff, people with mental health issues are almost more susceptible to that type of rhetoric to try to harm someone. So, again, there are a lot of things to unpack here, but I really do think when you have these mental health issues combining with danger to the president of the United States, they need to be taken extraordinarily seriously. And I'd like to see what was done and what wasn't done here.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the political rhetoric in particular. Just last week, I heard a Democratic member of Capitol Hill suggest that the president had henchmen, again, sort of playing this fast and loose messaging, intentional or unintentional. Real quick, guys, I just want to get you both to weigh in on this, maybe 20 seconds each. Richard, beginning with you. This worked out in the circumstance, given what we saw play out. However, there are those who suggest maybe we ought to expand the perimeter, make things a little less accessible. I, for one, like the fact that people can get in there and walk in front of the White House. What do you make of that suggestion?
I agree with that suggestion. I'm a big fan of increasing the perimeter, but I also agree with you. We cannot lock this down and prevent tourists, some of whom have saved money their entire lives to take this trip to Washington to get up and close to the White House for that picture. But you can certainly extend the perimeter, put more manpower and resources further out as an early warning system so you can intervene and get to these people before they get to that fence line.
Jonathan, wrap us up.
Yeah. I do agree with that to some extent, but you don't want to have this overly fortified nation's capital because it is the nation's capital for all the people. But there are, you know, these are always things you have to balance out, you know, safety and also access.
Great job as always, gents. Richard, Jonathan, thank you for coming in on a holiday. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you got two more, and then we'll get to the bell.
USA!
4 minutes, guys. 4 minutes. 5 hours ago.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back, sir! Get back! You get back! Let's go! Back up! You step back. You step back. Let's let him go through. Fall back. Is this what you enjoy doing? We're behind the yellow line. We're behind the yellow line. Don't trespass. What are you doing? I'm behind the fucking line. I'm behind the line. What? What? You want to do it? Do it. I'll fucking record your ass just like you do me. Can you see the line?
Minute left.
They don't get no peace. If we don't get no justice, we don't get no peace. If we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace. If we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace. If we don't get no peace. Freedom out! Freedom out! Freedom out! Freedom out! Freedom out!
Nothing will come out.
All right. I got that Shark Tank guy. I don't think we played him yesterday. I can't remember. I know. 4 minutes. Remember on this one.
And maybe we want to segue into what happened the evening of May 4th at 8:30, because I have 12 million plus followers on various social media platforms. I got a call from one of our IT guys, and he said, there's something wrong here. There's a massive influx in DMs going on two specific platforms, X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. Not a small increase, tens of thousands of percent increase. I said, well, is it a mistake? Is there a technical glitch on these platforms? He said, unlikely. They're two different complete platforms. So he had a first look and he said, wow, there's a lot of similar IP addresses here. And so we did an initial scan and we realized, wait a second, there was bots operating here. There are nefarious accounts out of the country dumping stuff that's completely false about Utah. So we didn't wait. The next morning we hired and started working with a very advanced data science team. And what we learned was, to me, shocking, just stunning. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I still can't, because I'm getting the data by the 4-hour cycle now. The content itself was coming from two batches, like the actual pixels, the images were from the Party for Socialism and Liberation and the People's Dispatch.
You guys got this
I'd never
one?
heard of them before. You do a search on them, you'll find them under investigation by multiple branches of Congress. Most of the within the IP addresses in Utah were coming from two IP addresses, Alliance for a Better Utah and one called Elevate. So we found out that Alliance for a Better Utah was actually a tax filer. And we went to the IRS Form 990s, which are public. And we started to drill down into what the filings were. And lo and behold, multiple filings through multiple entities all over the world, all going back to something called Arabella. Neville Singham under investigation, multiple branches of the government, shares offices with the CPP. So then I said, I want more. Can you tell me the exact amounts? And we got those the next day. We're talking about millions, hundreds of millions of dollars here. It's not just Utah. These guys are doing campaigns everywhere there's a proposed increase in power and or a data center. More digging, more. Salt Lake Party for Socialism and Liberation, Salt Lake Democratic Socialists of America. Then this one today, the Cuban Institute for Friendship with the People. What the hell are they doing marching around Box Elder County? I mean, what is this? And so I called my contacts at the White House. I raised a flag and I said, what the hell's going on here? They put me in touch with various law enforcement agents. We had a meeting last week with my entire data set team and multiple law enforcement agencies. And we started sharing data. I gave them 90 pages of IP addresses, all over the place, all around the world, hitting these locations. You see where I'm going with this? I'm not okay with this. And I found it in Alberta, Canada, too. So it's, there's a war going on, I guess a PR war, or whatever you want to call it.
Hey, Laurie.
I mean, is what you're suggesting that these entities are sort of taking funds from the Chinese Communist Party and using those funds to sort of run a digital sort of blackmail campaign against your projects?
I'm not suggesting it. It's an irrefutable fact. This is IRS 990 filings with the exact dollars and dates from exactly where it came from. No, not infuting. I'm saying that is exactly what's happening.
Okay, that was a short one there. We'll go one more short one on the same subject, I think. It's 3 minutes, only 3 minutes.
$3.5 billion poorest people.
It's fantastic. And this is a great thing because it inspires everybody, gets the motivation to look up to the 1% and say, I want to become one of those people. I'm going to fight hard to get up to the top. This is fantastic news. And of course I applaud it. What can be wrong with this?
Really?
It's a celebratory stat. I'm very excited about it. I'm wonderful to see it happen.
Is doing this. So Utah has approved a data center so massive, it's going to be more than twice the size of Manhattan. The project is called the Stratus Data Center, and it's being pushed by Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank.
And it's because our politicians are bought and paid for. The electricity, water use, clean air that this will destroy in Utah is deeply, deeply unpopular with the citizens of Utah, but listen to what their governor says about it, Spencer Cox.
It's the dumbest thing ever. We think that taking time makes things better or safer. It absolutely does not. You get a chance to give your feedback and then decisions get made. That's how we have to do stuff in this country and in this state.
And this is what's going to be required as the policy decisions of our tech elite and high-level officials diverge rapidly from the will of the people.
All of this is false. Then why won't they let people talk? Why won't they let people have questions? It's false.
You can see here hundreds of citizens of Box Elder County rallying together to try and stop this data center from happening. But the county commissioners are bought and paid for. They just ended the meeting, went into a virtual meeting, and then approved the data center. And this is what's going to happen as the divergence in the will of the people and the will of our leaders become more split. Autocracy is going to rule. The AI data center that's being constructed in Box Elder County is going to require at least its own natural gas plant and probably other things that burn fossil fuels and are destroying the environment. And I make this video not to sound hopeless, but to galvanize the resistance. The politicians that Kevin O'Leary has purchased have to huddle in back rooms. They can't even face their own constituencies because they know that they're fucking them over. So the harder we resist, the harder new data center construction will be. And one day soon, the will of the people will triumph. We just have to get to that point. And it's going to take bravery, and it's going to take making our voices heard. But shit like this is so enormously unpopular across the political spectrum. So have hope, fight back, fuck Kevin O'Leary, fuck AI data centers.
Hope that was okay. Pause. $58 minutes.
I don't know what we want to call it.
55 minutes.
Yeah, Mayhem Mel Monday. That definitely is a good title. A good title.
Certainly is.
So I'm just going to ask people, please be mindful. Only post one question. Make your questions short and sweet and to the point. I would much sooner have people do a live question, because if I think what I'm going to do, if I start seeing there's too many questions on the wall, I'm just going to turn the wall off. So please,
that's a good idea.
Please just ask your question live and only ask one question, and please keep this to questions. I know we all want to get to know each other. We all want to socialize, but unfortunately, this is not the time and the place to do that. We're trying to, Mel's trying to share information. There is a lot of things happening that if you don't think there is, then you're not looking in the right place. And she wants to share that. And, maybe at some point we can have a big social gathering, but tonight is not the night. And he needs to get a lot of things out, and we're going to go from there. We're adults here. Hopefully I don't have to reprimand anybody. We all know to keep our mics closed, be mindful, the same old thing. So again, thank you everybody for coming. And yeah, Mel, what do you got going on for us tonight, lady?
Well, first of all, a little bit of extra housekeeping. I was just informed just before the show that, and I won't be doing Wacky Wednesday this week. I need a mental break, as we were just talking about pre-show. It seems as though people have conformed to another male, so to speak, and it's gone much bigger. I have just been informed that people apparently have been donating to a Revolut account as well. And it's with shock and awe. And I don't like talking about it. But the thing is that PayPal has been closed. I'm in the process of going through and deleting the subscriptions on my Buy Me a Coffee. And this morning I get informed that someone or some peoples have been donating to my Revolut account. It is not possible. The Revolut is just a link for you to go and have a look at that item. Those links have been deleted from my main channel due to the fact that I am still being targeted. Now, I would rather not receive any donations or gifts for the fact that people are stealing those gifts from all of us, not from me, but from all of you as well. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I beg you with all my heart that I know that you wanted to give, but please do not give, because these people are stealing it, okay? So I did not realize until someone sent me a message a short time ago to say that their Revolut subscription is due in May. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you, I have 88 cents in that account, by the way, which is quite ironic. because we're going to be talking about numbers today. But please, ladies and gentlemen, do not donate any longer. I'd rather you not donate, and I'll get through. Okay? So with all of that being said, talking about money, it was always said to me, it wasn't the root of all money, it's what people do with the money, isn't it? It's one of those things that in Bible studies, we used to talk about this quite often. But let's take a different direction. We said pre-show regarding about fiat versus the actual physical currency that we're still going to have. I wanted to make sure that we start re-going over a couple of dynamics so that we are all up to speed, because as we said pre-show, there's a lot of people that are just coming in and still not quite certain, or they may have just joined this group, so to speak, or this channel in recent weeks. So let's do this just to clarify. We still have the fiat currency, which of course during our time, during this great awakening, we realised it wasn't backed by anything, it was worthless. You could probably, in some countries, even use it as toilet paper because it was that worthless. However, the issue that people still struggle with is that even though it is actually a fiat currency, and we're not going to be paid out on fiat because this was the narrative that's been fed. And what happens is we've become conformed to that, and we don't understand that this is a global currency reset, global, not just your USD dollar, your fiat dollar. There's a lot of fiat out there in the world. And what happens during a transition is that fiat is still worth something because you're going to exchange it for a UTN. So do not wipe it off because it's just fiat. I hope that makes a little bit of a twinge in somebody's head. Okay, so as we transition from the old fiat toilet paper to your new US Treasury note, it's going to be one-to-one. Understand that. So therefore, during a transition, the note is actually, although it's not backed by anything, technically it is, because you're going to replace it with a new US Treasury note. Now, regardless of what that note looks like, whether it's horizontal or vertical, is irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. Because it's happening in every other country. And this is why it's called a global currency reset. They are altering their fiat, so to speak, and once they take it into the bank, and they will exchange it for a different note. Doesn't mean that it's not worth anything, because everything has now gone digital. All right? Now, it was only fiat, and we created this narrative that it was backed by nothing. But at the moment, it is actually backed by something, because they've digitalized that fiat to give you access to this new digital treasury note. But it's actually still worth something. So it's complicated, yes. But your fiat, oh, I don't want to be paid in fiat in the RV. I'm sorry. But until we get all those notes out, it's going to have to be fiat. You're still going to have to hold fiat. And just so you know, it's not going away anytime soon. In many countries, they do not have the technology or the knowledge of the digital system. We are still seeing across the world that many countries are still trying to implement and get their citizens to adopt technology. In Western worlds, we're lucky, in a sense. We're going to have to pull back a little bit because we've got many countries that are coming online that don't understand that they're going to take a $200,000 note to get a $200 note. So there's more adjustments that need to be made, and it's interesting that we were talking about this may go out a little bit longer as well, because it is a global currency reset. It's not just a reset of your USD, okay? So you have your fiat, and eventually, as things are released, you will go into the bank and you will exchange that for a different note, which will have different features on it. These will be security features, okay? But in the meantime, it's a narrative that we've created that, I don't want to be paid in fiat. Well, regardless, it is still fiat, okay? So please understand that. The one that you've got now is a bit of a dirty fiat because we've created this narrative, but it is still worth something because in a transition, you're going to exchange that one-to-one. So get past the emotional attachment that you're going to be paid in fiat. There will still be fiat around. There will be cash still available. And it will be available until 2029, 2030 at least, until such time it's not necessary to hold cash. But this is why I said during this whole Great Awakening that cash is king. Well, yes and no. Because cash was the one that, because it didn't have these security elements to the fiat, it was easily printable. But it didn't mean it wasn't worth anything, because it was worth children, it was worth drugs, it was worth all sorts of things. Okay, so it was worth something. And it's interesting, actually, it's just occurred to me that if you were to look at it in the perspective of Bitcoin, it's only as good as what you want to pay for it. It's the same with fiat. You have a drug addict who wants cash. Cash is king, apparently, back in the day. I used to argue about that because it was cash that created the onset of, like I said, all the misdemeanors in the background, all of the money laundering at ports and things like that as well. But it was only that because it was easily printable. It's still a fiat currency. It's just going to have mechanisms on the new dollar, on the new treasury note, that will eliminate it from being printed and things like that as well, and more traceable. It does not mean it's not fiat. So let's make that clear. Is that a reasonable explanation on fiat dollar, Wildflower? Is there anything else you think I should add to that? Is that
so I think there at the end when you were explaining, it's like the old fiat and the new fiat.
Yes. Yes.
Because
correct.
I always thought it's like we wouldn't get paid in fiat because the whole system, the whole purpose of the new financial system is for it to be, I used to say blockchain. Now I've learned it's not blockchain because blockchain can be hacked. It's quantum. And
It's quantum,
again,
yeah.
we use our words interchangeably, and we need to be more mindful of the words that we are saying to identify something. And if you don't understand what you're talking about,
Then
then
don't talk about it.
I don't know if I'm saying this right, because blockchain is not quantum, not
No,
at
it's
all.
not.
And
No.
so I used to think that for the RV to happen, that would mean that the new financial system would be in place and we would get paid in digital currency, digital whatever, for the simple fact that they could eliminate the problem that they had on the old system, which was nefarious actions, people doing things the wrong way. Well, that now has changed.
Well, that's correct.
That's not entirely the case anymore. It's not.
That's right.
And
So I just, sorry.
we have to eliminate blockchain because our financial system is not blockchain, it's quantum. And I myself have no clue how that's going to work. And neither does anybody else because we're not privy to that. And
no, we're not. No.
So I'm sure I am probably 99.9% sure that the powers of be, whenever they decide that they're going to release the financial system, which I myself do not think it's going to be anytime soon, they're going to have this all figured out. And we don't know that answer. We have no clue how that's going to look. But you made a great point. This isn't just the United States doing this. This is every country in the world. And my thoughts are, they're not going to allow just the United States to go. We're not privileged. We're not better than anybody else. They're going to allow all the countries to get, this is my thoughts, get to a point where they're going to understand it or whatever. That way they have access and they can benefit from it too. So if that's the case, I don't really have to say much more. Do you really think it's going to happen next week, people?
Well, yes.
Think so.
So there you go. So
we've been hearing next week for years.
Good on you, Jimmy. So we've determined that fiat is fiat. Simple as that. So how do you take the fiat to the digital side of things? So once they convert the old paper, toilet paper, into these, as I said, mechanisms where they can track and this, that, and all the rest of it, and this is where people start to get a little bit upset about it. You want to know where your cash is going, and how they do it is through these features. And the features are then implemented on that quantum system. And it's very important that Wildflower brings it up, because Wildflower knows that I very rarely use the word blockchain, because they're blocks within a system that cannot be altered in the quantum system, as far as we know, from what we know. So if we looked at this from a blockchain system, I just mentioned a short time ago that if you were to look at fiat, that it's only worth whatever value that you so choose to, that was the same as what Bitcoin, and this is what has occurred. Bitcoin was the original concept of the quantum system, because they knew they couldn't break the quantum system. So that's why, and that's how Bitcoin came about in the 2005, whenever it was, when it was released. By 2008, we had a market crash, which I believe, in my opinion, was the last major crash of all time, because it was not long after that we saw this white hat alliance being formed, and they took control of that old concept, which was unhackable, apparently. So the original concept, of course, was that of XRP. So we've got Bitcoin that's out in the system, and it's worth whatever store value it so chose to. And this is where we thought it was blockchain, because they created this system called blockchain, and that's what Bitcoin actually is. It was the blockchain. But those blocks had what we call algorithms. So those of us who took any notice at school would probably remember back, again, depending on the age and all that sort of stuff. But I remember when we used to learn how to write algorithms on a floppy disk back in the day, as I'm showing my age here, but we used to use symbols such as hashtag. So when you hear the word blockchain, they're actually referring to Bitcoin, because that was the blockchain that used the algorithms that could be altered and changed. So in blockchain, it was a chain of events where people can alter it through using hashtags, as we used to do when we used to write programs on a floppy disk. Okay, that is blockchain. It can be altered, okay? And it's only altered through these computers that Bitcoin used to mine, or still mining. And that's why DJT took control of the Bitcoin mining. We believe, in our knowledge, and it's only our opinion, that he took control of it so that he could control the factors relying on that blockchain alterations using all of those hashtags. We saw over the time, even Elon Musk said in Twitter, stop using hashtag. He came out and made an announcement, stop using hashtag. And I knew straight away from my research that, Bitcoin's gone, because hashtag was part of that Bitcoin system, or they're trying to get us out of the blockchain into this new quantum system, which cannot be altered, apparently. So what happens there is, so when you think of fiat, you think of a new fiat, it's like Bitcoin and new Bitcoin, which is XRP. So we have these simultaneous systems running. One is blockchain, one is quantum. And in between those two railway lines, so to speak, there is bridges that we use and utilize to convert each way, okay? In the system of fiat, it is the same. Globally, they created this old fork or old fiat system, which was called the Swiss system, and created a quantum system in the banking world to convert. And again, they use these bridges to convert backwards and forwards. It is still fiat. You can still purchase currency on a quantum system through bridges. So it's still fiat. That's what a stable coin is. It's just backed digitally by an asset, but it is still operationed as a fiat currency. So we have two blockchains, blockchain and a quantum system. The blockchain integrates into the quantum system, and they do that through the digital factors, okay? So therefore, this is why in the crypto world, you will often see that you can transfer Bitcoin into cash, fiat cash, okay? Using these bridges into the quantum system. The quantum system is very, very complex. It's more than just a financial system, by the way. It holds your DNA, it holds frequencies, it holds all sorts of things. But we relate it to the actual financial system because that's the one that we can substantiate. Everything outside of that quantum system is bigger than us, so to speak. It's part of the universe. And that's why you'll often hear me talking about how this quantum system is what we call off-planet, okay? It's a world above us. It's like if you were to think of it in the spiritual realm of, you know, God above us, so to speak. So understand that blockchain is the one that was encrypted in the old system where it can be altered and changed. Now it's changing into this quantum system utilizing these bridges, these digital bridges, okay? So that's an explanation about fiat is still fiat. It is not going to go away. Stop worrying about the fact that you're going to get paid in fiat. I don't care if I get paid in fiat as long as it is digital and it's on the quantum system. That's all my concern is, okay? So that's the digital note going into the digital form, which is backed by gold. So now it goes back to the gold and how that they are now being focusing now on the World Council of Gold, World Gold Council, has been talking about for many, many months and many years regarding how a lot of these banks are hoarding all of this gold. They had to bring it in, it had to be audited, hence why we're focusing also on this audit from Fort Knox. So once it's audited, it assimilates to the value of your fiat.
Of course, I was resetting everything. God darn it. Hang on, you guys. I'll get it. Maybe. What the heck happened now? Pushed the wrong button. So we were at about I said 40 minutes, I think we were at. Yeah. I think we were right about here.
God above us, so to speak. So understand that blockchain is the one that was encrypted in the old system where it can be altered and changed. Now it's changing into this quantum system,
So I said 40
utilizing
minutes,
these
right
bridges,
about
these
there.
digital bridges. Okay. So that's an explanation about fiat is still fiat. It is not going to go away. Stop worrying about the fact that you're going to get paid in fiat. I don't care if I get paid in fiat as long as it is digital and it's on the quantum system. That's all my concern is. Okay? So that's the digital note going into the digital form, which is backed by gold. So now it goes back to the gold and how that they are now being focusing now on the World Council of Gold, World Gold Council, has been talking about for many, many months and many years regarding how a lot of these banks are hoarding all of this gold. They had to bring it in, it had to be audited, hence why we're focusing also on this audit from Fort Knox. So once it's audited, it assimilates to the value of your fiat currency, which is now digital. So we have the physical, we have the digital, and then we have the quantum. And the quantum is where it calculates the value of that digital dollar based upon how much you actually hold in fiat. So stop worrying about what your narrative that's been fed to you, ladies and gentlemen, about, oh, you don't want it in fiat. You know, when the RV happens, you don't want it in fiat. No, I don't. It's not fiat as in the old form. You're not going to go to some redemption center. You're not going to get $2,000 cash in fiat. That's all bullshit. Okay? You take whatever fiat you've got underneath the mattress in Iraq, you take it to the bank. Same with Vietnam. You will take it, your $200,000 Vietnamese dong, and you will most likely receive a new $200 digital dollar that's backed by gold, but it is still a fiat dollar. Okay? But it's in the digital system, in the quantum system, connected to the quantum system, which indicates that the gold that they've been hoarding in their banks or their central banks, if you want to call them that, and it's linked to a gram of gold or a gram of silver, however it is calculated in each country based upon the value of their new digital dollar. Again, everything is relevant and is different in every single country. So I just wanted to make sure that the understanding that fiat is still fiat, it is not going away. Cash remains till at least 2029, as that I am aware of, and that is based upon the white papers that I see coming out of reserve banks and this, that, and all the rest of it. So stop worrying about your fiat currency. Stop worrying about what you're going to get paid out in. It's going to be digital, and it will be in your quantum system. And then it is tokenized against the gold, the silver, the platinum, the oil, whatever is the asset in your country. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. Hopefully something's twigged in all of that. But fiat is fiat, ladies and gentlemen. Do not, it's just the fact that the USD was never ever changed or altered to mechanisms where it can be more tracked and traceable. And there has to be accountability. It's not about how much you have. Ooh. No, it's got nothing to do with that. It was a criminal activity of money laundering that they're more concerned about. They don't care if you have some stashed underneath a mattress, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not about Big Brother tracking
A half hour.
It has to be trackable and traceable.
30 minutes.
Okay, so keep that in mind as we move forward. But it's certainly time. We've had half an hour of me and dribbling out both sides of my mouth. So now it's over to all of you. What is on your mind? So go.
Now, before we get started, I do have another housekeeping that I want to address. So
Yes.
I've been getting messages from people that they think I'm your admin and they're trying to get messages to you. So I just want to let people know that this is my channel, Humanitarians 2, where Mel comes on as a guest speaker. Now, when Mel is speaking, the wall is open, that people can post questions, can ask questions. They can post other information that's relevant to what she's talking about. But once the podcast is done, the wall gets changed that you're not able to post anything. So people are not going to be able to post a question on there, and you're going to think that it's going to get to Mel, because there's no posting allowed. That's not what that wall is for. That's not what this channel is for. So what I've been doing, Mel, is just forwarding the messages over to your admins.
Thank you. Yeah.
But I just want to let people know this is not Mel's channel. She does have her own channel, but nobody can post on your channel to ask the question.
That's correct.
So I guess that's the only way that we can do this. So I'm going to have to just keep asking me a question, and I'm going to have to forward it to you. But I just wanted to make you guys aware that the wall doesn't get shut down. There's no posting allowed because too many scammers come in, and I'm not dealing with that. So
definitely not. I that's why I don't allow chit chat in my main channel, because of the whole scamming thing which has occurred. And also be reminded too that blue ticks does not mean that they are verified either, ladies and gentlemen. So Telegram have informed me that if you purchase a premium Twitter account or a premium Telegram account, you don't have to verify or show any form of ID. So ladies and gentlemen, so don't think because there's a little blue ticky wiki there that and this goes for DJT and all the rest of them. I'm letting you know, do not get to, oh, it must be verified. It must be Mel. It must be President Trump. No, it does not necessarily mean that at all, okay? And I certainly am not President Trump, by the way, but I'm just saying, please understand that these scammers are out to attack you, not to be your friend. And this is the only chance that you have is either on my show or here to ask a question. I do not endorse chat rooms for that exact reason. It's because we don't know who is in the chat. And yes, and I do have some contacts that are onto it, but it is very, very upsetting and very frustrating on both sides of the fence. So, but anyway, so be it. But I'm taking the power away from them either. I'd rather you not give and take the power away from them. So I'll survive. I'm a survivor. So there you go. But anyway, enough of that. Jimmy, did you have a question?
Hey, Mel and Wildflower. Yeah, actually, I got kind of a random question. It's not so much about currency, but it kind of involves it. I was always wondering, like if the med beds, when they come out, if they're supposed to be free, why does the release of them seem to be contingent upon the currency exchange?
Yeah, exactly my point. Jimmy,
exactly
my point.
The math ain't mathing.
No, and it's true. And this is why I always enjoyed, we've only spoken several times, of course, ladies and gentlemen. We don't chat very often at all. And I'm sorry for putting you on the spot there, Jimmy, but Jimmy's always this outside thinker, and it is so, so true. I hope people actually heard what he just said. How is it possible if the medbeds are free, if we're having a currency reset as well, and it's reliant on that? And that is a very good point, Jimmy. And as Wildflower and I have just suggested, is that perhaps this revaluation is more to do with our mindset than what it is to do with the actual currencies. And we're starting to allude to all of that as well. And it's not to say that what you have is not going to be worth something. It is certainly valuable, absolutely valuable, ladies and gentlemen. But it starts to open up the mind that we come around again. We're coming up to this these new markers. And I did say that I was going to do Wacky Wednesday I might still do that now that I've remembered, because I said I was going to give you another time plan, so to speak. And as I always say, and this is why it's so important to focus on what's actually going on or what's just happened and where we think it might be leading to, because the illusion of this revaluation of currencies per se may not be exactly what we thought it was going to be. And again, it's just hold on to your seats there. These are the things, and this is why we come in here as humanitarians and discuss our feelings and our thoughts towards that. So Jimmy brings up a very good point. If the medbed was free, then why is it set around the currency if it's already free? You'd think that they would just release it, Jimmy.
Right. Thanks for taking my question.
That's quite okay. So Jimmy, it does beg that, is, as I said, is this more of a revaluation of our frequencies before they actually start placing us in the actual medbed? So when you take it from that perspective, Jimmy, you'd have to say your currency becomes your current, and your current is your frequency. And as I said, have we met or have we qualified as a collective being, per se, is that why they haven't released the med beds? I don't think it has got anything to do with the actual revaluation of currencies. And you heard it from Jimmy, ladies and gentlemen, not me. And well done, Jimmy. It's certainly going to put a few thoughts in people's minds as to, never thought of it like that. So thank you very much, Jimmy.
Thank you, Mel.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Wildflower.
That's quite okay.
You're welcome.
So yeah.
Now, I'd like to add something to that since we're talking about that.
We got
So we talk about
21
the med
minutes.
beds,
21.
but even that has taken on a whole new
try to make it
meaning
to
from what we
we'll
learned
3
3, 4, or
hours.
5 years ago. You
3
know, we
hours
heard the
ago.
generic word med beds,
We got an hour
and
20.
then we seen pictures. But quite honestly, there is so much more to that even, that it's being revealed. And, you know, there's going to be medical beds, things that are going to be maybe a couple steps down. This is my opinion. A couple steps down from a med bed. But, you know, there's different levels. There's going to be different levels of med beds. And a lot of it, I think, does have to do with the state of mind that you are in, the understanding that you have. And I'm not going to touch on the spirituality that you have, but a lot of it's going to, I think, it's working off of your frequency, all of that. Now, does that mean, well, what if I don't know what my frequency is? Am I not going to get a med bed? Well, I don't think any of us are going to get a med bed right off the bat. I think we're going to get a medical bed. We're going to get things that we can do to help ourselves. But this isn't going to be, this is what I think, like we're going to go to bed and wake up and everything is like, oh, we're going to the med beds, the RV, and that's how it's been programmed into our mind is going to happen. And it's not going to happen like that. It's happening over time. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, their time they think is up. Well, you better just start thinking differently because the time isn't up yet. And again, you got to think who is in control of these med beds. Where's this technology coming from? It ain't coming here from this planet. And do you really think, and all I'm going to say, and then I'm going to start do you really, if you honestly took a deep look inside of your own self, do you think that a being that is powerful, has technology beyond anything that we can even think of, would they allow that to be handed over to us? Are we ready for that? Are we ready for that? And not just because we're sick. Sickness is going to keep going. That's not going to stop. But, you know, I'm just thinking some things out loud here, because this is the only time I really get to say anything either, and I don't want to take up your time. But, you know, the med beds, I don't think we're going to be seeing them for a while. I think we're going to work our way up to different things. And we have to teach ourselves. How many is out there learning this stuff, understanding things? Because it is about each one of us learning, each one of us doing the work. And that means learning, reading, understanding, searching. It's just, anyhow.
You're back. Not for you.
I will let you go, and we can start doing questions, Mel, unless you want to add to that.
No, I'm happy with that, because I've been saying that same thing, and I'm glad you said it, because I say it and I just get like hammered over it.
Well,
but it is true. I say it in a softer way. In a softer way, but it's not to be. It's never ever not to be discussed, though, because as I say to you on this channel, is that yes, I might do it in a softer way, but I'm in total agreement. I've been saying this for a long time. There has to be other alternatives that we can do whilst we're waiting for this to actually be released. But I think they're using, I really do believe in my heart of hearts, ladies and gentlemen, that the narrative from these gurus, they are using this RB, the revaluation of currencies, for their own benefit. Because, again, I have to do a lot of reflecting. As I said, I will be taking some time off in the next week or so, because I may have to change directions. I may have to go back and get a full-time job, which I didn't want to do, which means that I won't be doing what I so muchly dearly love to do. But here's my point. I can't live the way I'm living anymore. I can't do it. And if anyone thought for one moment that, you know, might look good, but, you know, I'm living in other people's places all the time. I haven't been in a house of my own for about 11 years. I've been homeless. I've done all the stuff to keep doing what I'm doing, to deliver it. And then to know that in this last few weeks about what was actually stolen from all of you, not from me. I never got it, so it wasn't stolen from me. Believe you me, it's been heavy on my heart. And it's no different to the med beds. We all need it, you know. But at the moment, my mental state is you can feel the frustration even coming from Wildflower today. We are frustrated. Not at you, but with the situation, because we're repetitively going over the same things. We're repetitively saying, and it was true what we said earlier in the show. What if this was to go out for another 6 to 12 months for all of you? What if it was? What plans do we have? Because I would be naive if I didn't think that myself. And as I said, I've been doing this now for 11 years. I've been trying to survive. I only got this nice haircut because someone gifted it to me. It wasn't something that I brought. I did. Same with my jacket. You'll still see me in the same clothes because I don't spend money on clothes. But it's not the point. It's what I deliver. It's the energy. It's the frequency that I share with you. But it does become a point where it's like, how much can one person give when there's nothing coming back? And if we were to wait for another 6 months, I just don't simply know, ladies and gentlemen, if I can survive 6 more months just doing what I'm doing. Because as much as people are gifted, and as many times people say, you know, Mel, you have your own space.
the
It's still not
3-hour
my
mark,
space.
and I'll be back at
It's
7.
not my headspace, so to speak.
A lot of intel.
And
there.
don't get me wrong, it's grace and gratitude. But it's no different to what Wildflower said. We do this because we want to give you some, not hopium, but understanding of what is to come. We're here to share, and it's just our opinion. It's for entertainment purposes. But at some point, as I said, I've hinted the last couple of weeks, understand me here. But these live Q&As do take a lot of energy. They take up a lot of time. And as I said, I may have to restructure this a little bit. So please enjoy your questions and answers today, because I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to answer your questions. But then again, as I said, do not go into chat rooms, ladies and gentlemen, because it ain't me and it ain't Wildflower. We're two separate channels. And I can assure you, if you think you're talking to Mel, this is why I put my face on camera, ladies and gentlemen. If you ain't talking to me directly on these Q&As, it ain't me. It's as simple as that. It goes for the med beds. It goes for everything. If you can't see it, physically see it in front of you, then you need to question that. Full stop. But anyway, talking about questions, let's get to it. So Jimmy, thank you. Yes.
I have one other thing. Is there somebody on here by the letter S? I know there is. And all I'm going to say is that if you're going to be disrespectful on this channel, I will block you and ban you from this. And anybody that follows along with that, they will be banned also. And one other thing, if you have an account that doesn't allow anybody to message you, then don't be on this channel.
Exactly my point.
So S, you can delete your message off of the wall, please. And you. Mel.
I think we lost it.
Can you?
Yeah, we missed last 10 minutes, you guys.
Uh-oh, what happened?
We got 9 minutes.
We lost Wildflower too.
We'll wait one more minute.
Disappeared.
You got some skunks in the woodpile. They need to be gotten rid of.
All right, I think we lost her.
Did she drop out, you guys?
But we got all but 9 minutes, you guys. 9 minutes we missed. Okay, we got a big update from Benny's video, but I got a photo I gotta share you guys. I hope you guys didn't run out. I got some here. Oh, come on. Oh. They're not gonna let me bring it up? I'll share it on my phone. You guys have enough popcorn yet? Okay, this just came out with Benny. Oh, am I frozen again?
A good job. Okay, this is a touch one. J.D. Vance dropping out of the 2028 presidential race even before it starts. That's according to a Daily Mail report that cites White House sources. And we're going to talk about it today. Give everybody a chance to sound off in the comment section, but allow me to begin. We know Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance. They've both been guests on our program. We've done in-person interviews with both of them multiple times. I'm massive fans of both J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. And I'm a huge fan of J.D. Vance's new role as the anti-fraud czar. Any type of speculation that J.D. Vance is getting somehow cut out of the loop or not empowered by the president is insane, as both he and Marco Rubio are crisscrossing the globe, acting on behalf of the president in some of the most important negotiations in the world. Marco Rubio was just in India. He's in Azerbaijan today, negotiating peace deals. And J.D. Vance is negotiating peace deals in Ukraine in his portfolio, as well as Iran in his portfolio. So it's insane and not grounded in reality to say that somehow J.D. Vance has been cut entirely out of the loop or whatever. On your screen right now is a fraud czar video from J.D. Vance, where he has taken a very firm stance on prosecuting those who commit fraud against the American taxpayer. Probably the most popular issue in the country right now. That and lowering gas prices would probably be the two most popular issues in the country. And so J.D. Vance going hard in against those who commit fraud, and he's actually live at this very moment. He's live in another fraud. He's live during a fraud czar press conference with state attorney generals roundtables. Currently live right now. Anyway, he's doing great work. It's important work. And is it work that is going to get him into the #1 job in all of the world, the presidency? Well, this report says that Vance plans to exit the 2028 option after Tulsi Gabbard bowed out, along with a number of other J.D. Vance's allies, right? Joe Kent would be one of those. And Amaryllis Kennedy, for instance. So you have some J.D. Vance allies that have been piecing out. Tulsi Gabbard said, my husband's got bone cancer. It's really bad. So I'm out of here, which makes a ton of sense, honestly. You mad, they've been married for a decade or more. I guess bone cancer is terrible. Totally legitimate reason to focus on your family, obviously. Here's the report. J.D. Vance, now the lone dove in Donald Trump's administration, meaning he's anti-war because Tulsi Gabbard bowed out, is considering abandoning his run for president, according to multiple sources of Daily Mail. Gabbard's resignation letter cited her husband's diagnosis from cancer, but there's whispers in the West Wing that say it was actually Iran. Vance's most senior non-interventionist ally is gone, and even as he expressed his sorrow for the exit of his dear friend on Friday, insiders told the Daily Mail his own future is a front of mind as his rival sharpens their blades. Vance is a non-event in the West Wing, sources told the president's Daily Mail. Sources close to the president told the Daily Mail. I mean, that's an insane thing to say because that's not true. Vance is often in the West Wing and often right beside President Trump. And Donald Trump actually just maybe a week ago asked, who do you want to be president, J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio?
We got a lot of beauties out there, JD. I envy you and other people. I don't know. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be JD? Is it going to be somebody else? I don't know. Does anybody have? Okay, let's go. You ready? Who likes JD Vance? Who likes Marco Rubio? All right. Sounds like a good ticket. JD and...
Does that look like a man who's cutting JD out of the loop? This is like a week or two ago at the White House Live. Really? Does it look? You've seen Trump pissed, right? You've seen Trump angry at people or not wanting people around. Like, does he look like this? Give me a break. So anyway, I'm going to try and knock a couple holes in this. But anyway, but perhaps you could see where the overall architecture of this is happening, because there are people who are angling to get JD out of the top spot. And that's the way that politics has always been. So they plant stories and things like that. Vance's isolation comes in a moment when Marco Rubio's stock in the West Wing has never been higher. Well, that's a matter of fact. We do polls on the show. People really have seen Marco Rubio is the most improved player, for sure. Marco Rubio's been skyrocketing in popularity, and he's done an unbelievable job. There's just no doubt about it. The vice president's dovish brand of foreign policy has set him on a collision course with Trump, sources say, the rift deepening as Trump embraces wartime image leader. The president has made it very clear in recent months that he doesn't abide by the strong, silent Gary Cooper-style approach to foreign policy. He's loud, he's active. The guy prefers to speak softly and carry a big stick. But Trump speaks loudly and carries a massive cannon. Okay. Here we go. J.D. Vance reportedly opposed full-scale strikes in Iran. That's been reported out for sure. Vance privately urged Trump against authorizing full-scale strikes in Iran. He encouraged the president to authorize limited punitive strikes instead of full-scale operation, warned him that the wider war could trigger regional chaos and heavy casualties. Trump himself has acknowledged the divide, conceding that the vice president may be less enthusiastic at the start of the war, philosophically a little different on the strike. Gabbard, who like Vance viewed Trump's strike as hawkish instincts, fit the mold. I don't think she was opposed to a lot of people, but a lot of people think she was. She recognized that her job was to serve the president. Vance, unlike Gabbard, has no graceful exit offer. As Vance's non-interventionist influence faded, Rubio's expanded, with Secretary of State emerging as a dominant foreign policy in Trump's orbit. Rubio has more mojo than Vance. The president listens to him. Vance is out of step and has been for a long time. The source cautioned that Rubio's dominance may prove fleeting. By championing an unpopular war effort, the Secretary of State risks burning through political capital real-time by the American public. Rumors that J.D. Vance may skip 2028 circulating in the West Wing. According to the source, insiders note that may not be for him everything that's gone on inside of the last couple of years. To own everything that's gone on, the vice president is just 41. His allies floated political alternatives that could let him sit out the next cycle and reemerge later. Separate source close to the vice president told the Daily Mail sitting on the sidelines would be folly. Anybody who wants to be a viable nominee for president has a very small window. And if you don't go when the window's open, you'll likely never open again. Time can be unforgiving. 2032 run would pit Vance against a sitting incumbent, and only Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush, and Donald Trump have lost re-election in the last half-century. A 2032 or 2036 bid for the presidency will require Vance to remain politically relevant for the next decade out of office. The source said that the task would be extremely hard when you're out of the limelight, and age-wise, you'd be young enough, but momentum-wise, there's a shinier penny on the street. So anyway, that's the story.
Okay.
So it's, as always, unnamed sources inside of the White House. Okay. So now I've read you the story. I've read you what they're saying. And even the story concedes that whoever's your unnamed source in the West Wing, and we know how accurate those are, could be a janitor. The guy from Vance's office says, no, that's insane. We're not dropping. We were going to be a viable nominee. And so has their official office, by the way, when we reached out about this. Hilarious how how every other week there's some type of unnamed source in the media saying they think Vance may not run for president. It's almost like they're scared of J.D. Vance running for president. J.D. Vance spokesperson denies the Daily Mail report. The story is a flimsy compilation of completely illegitimate sources who have no idea what they're talking about. The article cites a single anonymous source as the key to understanding the whole bombshell, which amounts to basically some dude's opinion. The story is made up and it is clickbait. Okay. J.D. Vance spokesperson slaps down the report. This may be a flimsy compilation of completely illegitimate sources. J.D. is focused on making sure that America is winning. J.D. Vance asked about 2028. J.D. Vance said this.
I just don't think it sounds like the president of the United States to have a televised competition for who would succeed him as his apprentice. I just think that's not at all what you would expect the president to do.
It's actually really funny response. You know, J.D. Vance has actually been on the record talking about how Donald Trump is encouraging him and Marco to run as a ticket.
He mentioned it probably 6 months or so ago. And I mentioned to the secretary in jest, but it feels so premature because we're still so early.
So the question there was, will you run with Marco Rubio? And he said, oh, the president's mentioned that to me a couple times. The president's doing live polls about it in the White House. Here's the thing that I do know, because I have worked with both these guys and their teams. They really like each other and have like an enormous amount of respect for each other. And Marco Rubio has straight up said that I won't run against J.D. Vance. You know, he said that in interview. J.D. Vance swore in Marco Rubio, and Marco Rubio said, I will not be running for president against a J.D. Vance. Things do change, frankly, in politics. So that is the nature of the sport. But did they change that much? You know, here it is. These are the odds. That's just the odds on the market, yeah. So you got, obviously, Marco Rubio. You can see here the Marco Rubio ascension. And now you have like a split between the two of them. That's something like 10 points. So what do you think? Let me know in the comment section. JD, Marco Rubio, too early to tell. I just, whenever I see these reports, I feel like it's important to lend as much reality to them as possible from my perspective. And I hope that you appreciate that, because I don't want you to have to experience fake news alone, right? I feel very good about our bench, but who do you think, Marco or JD? If the election were today, who would you go with? Let me know in the comment section.
Okay, I got the next one. An old guy that we played that does a good job. I just found him again. It's 23 minutes. So let me know on this one.
I'm going to talk about something called the subglobal system. For about the last 50 years or so, our military has been involved in building a series of underground bases, tunnels, cities, roadways, everything that you need to sustain life under the ground. It's nationwide. It is extremely high tech. It has entrances in every state of the union. The most entrances are in the state of Florida, as I understand it. I've got some maps here that show diagrams of different parts of the country that
a while back
these tunnels are connected to. They have roadways. People can drive literally thousands of miles underground on these roadways, and they run parallel to what's called a magnetic levitation subway system. It's a subway system where the cars are actually levitated above the rails by magnetism. They're so expensive to build that no city in the world uses them on the surface, except for part of downtown Tokyo. But underground, it's all that. They say that they're capable of speeds up to Mach 1. That's not true. They can achieve Mach 2.8. That means that you can basically start watching Star Wars in Los Angeles. By the time it's over, you can be in Washington, D.C. if you ride one of these subways. They're used to transport passengers. Roadways are used to transport
Yeah, I did a long time ago.
That's a map of the underground facilities at Dulce
It's all
Base,
about Telegram.
or Mount Weather, excuse me, another deep underground military base.
You're pretty good.
Within the military, these are known as the subglobal system. These are nuclear-powered boring machines. They'll go right through solid rock. What they do is they melt the rock in front of them. They literally melt it, and they channel the liquid stone out to the side, and they pass through it, and it forms a large circular tunnel, which has the surface as the rock cools. It's like basalt. It's a smooth, like glass surface to these tunnels, and sometimes they'll come back and they'll do another one right beside it, make it as big as they want to. But they have quite a few of these different quite a few of these different machines that they use. There's one coming out through a wall right there. They can go down. The average depth of these bases in cities is said to be between 7 and 9 miles deep. That's very, very deep. It's safe from anything that might happen in the surface world. And they've made sure of that. They also use some very high-tech methods to conceal the entrances to these tunnels. Some of them are on military reservations, as I'll show you. But some of them also can be built into mountainsides, and they use holographic images. The military has very high-tech holographic capabilities. There. That's the size of them. You can see the people there in front of it. They're enormous. They can go up to 8 miles a day with these drilling machines. And they've been doing this for a half century or so. So you can imagine, and they've got a lot of these machines. So you can imagine that they have made a lot of progress. But as you can see, they're enormous. And the facilities that they make are enormous. This is an interesting one, I think. They can go 8 miles a day with these drilling machines. That's a lot of miles. And they just literally melt the rock in front of them. They're nuclear powered, which I don't have the details on that. They literally melt the rock in front of them and then go through it. The rock is shunted out to the side, hardens, seals into like a glass-like smooth surface. And
okay, sorry, Lori.
A friend of mine, acquaintance of mine, was a colonel in the United States Air Force, worked his whole career in black ops, and he once told me that he wanted, before he retired, to take a civilian into one of these underground complexes. And he wanted to take me down there, and I said, well, I don't have any security clearance. How are you going to get me in there? And he said, you don't understand. When I walk through the door, I'm the commanding officer. They don't tell me who can come in. I tell them who can come in. And so he took me down there once, and it's mind-blowing. The technology that they use is Star Wars technology. It's beyond anything you see. They don't use telephones underground. They use holographic things like, help me, Obi-Wan. Remember that thing in Star Wars, help me, Obi-Wan? That's what they use. When you call someone up down there on a telephone, what we'd call a telephone, they appear beside you, or they'll appear sitting at their desk, and they look just like they're there. And that's how you will appear to them. And that's the technology which is, it's all underground uses this technology. It's all stuff that we don't have access to. They have access to anything they need, you know. It's the military. They have access to any kind of materials that they need to use. These bases they're massive, and they are widespread, and they're not linear. They branch off. They have warehouses. They have giant hydroponic farms. They have their own system of water, their own system of oxygen. They don't rely on the surface for any of these things. They have stocked up warehouses full of
You guys okay with this guy?
anything you can imagine that you would need to survive for 200 or 300 years down there. They have the military's attitude. Even the president doesn't know about all this stuff. The military's theory is, in 4 to 8 years, the president will be gone and he'll never give another order to anybody. But the aliens will still be here, and so will we. And so what they don't want to do is, they don't want to risk some do-gooder president putting a stop to their plans and projects. They don't want Jimmy Carter to say, no more, no more. So they don't tell him. They'll tell him what he needs to know to do his job. You know, they'll tell him that they're the aliens, but they're not going to tell him the details of all these projects. Because Dulce Base is a secret, it's as secret as Area 51. It's an underground base on a place called Arcaluda Mesa in New Mexico. And it is 6 to 6.5 levels underground. I say 6 to 6.5 because in between the second and third level, there's kind of a little half level that they use as a prison. It's got prison cells in it where they keep captured aliens. The military doesn't treat most aliens as guests. They treat some of them as prisoners. And that's where they keep them. But the deeper down you go in Dulce Base, the higher the security gets. And the worse the situation gets. When you get down to the fourth level, it's called Nightmare Hall. This is where they do these genetic experiments I was describing. They produce clones, thousands and thousands of clones. They're trying to produce super soldiers. They're trying to produce, they produce grays. Gray aliens, the classic ETs with the big wraparound eyes. Those are actually genetically engineered creatures. They're not a naturally occurring type of a being.
I'm not.
They are created,
sure.
And
is it all right?
They've
They've
been relegated to slave status by the reptilian race, which created them. They are
stop it if you want me to.
Entirely telepathic. They operate with like a hive mind. They don't have any emotions. There's no such thing as a friendly gray. Okay, if somebody tries to tell you that there's friendly grays, they're full of crap. I've met more grays than I could possibly want to ever remember, and I would exterminate them if I had the power. There's nothing good about them whatsoever. They don't care if you hurt. They don't care if you're uncomfortable. They don't care if you're terrified.
Larry.
They don't care. They're programmed to do a job. They'll do it.
Larry.
They have IQs of about 80. They're not very smart. They are responsible for most of the UFO crashes which take place. Because they're also not very good pilots, according to my friend in the Pentagon. Bottom two levels at Dulce Base, humans are not allowed to enter or access in any way. They are occupied by a variety of alien races.
It's almost like mine.
One of them is the mantid race. One of them is the reptilian race, the draconians. Some of them are grays. There are many different types of grays, aliens, because the military is aware of at least 160 different alien races right now. They are not all distinct because many of them are very ancient. They've had technology for millions, tens, hundreds of millions of years, some of them. Some of them have been able to get to our planet since before we were in trees, okay? You can't catch up to technology like that by putting on an extra shift at General Dynamics. It doesn't work that way. You know, one time, I'll tell you a little story. It's not really related to this, but one time I tried to commandeer a fully armed United States Aegis cruiser, a guided missile cruiser. I went to this thing called Seafair in Seattle. Well, every year the fleet comes in for Seafair, and they have a ship that you can go on to tour for free, right? And the year before this, I'd gone on board the USS Hornet, which is an aircraft carrier. It's the aircraft carrier that the first U.S. astronaut in space was retrieved with. They picked him up out of the water. They set him on the deck. He got out of the capsule. They painted around his feet. It was who was that? It was no, it was before Glenn. He didn't do an orbit. Shepard, right. They still have his footprints on the deck, but it was free. It was really cool. And I didn't realize this. When I stepped on the deck, all my hair stood on end. And I knew that I was standing on a vessel which contained nuclear weapons. I didn't think you'd be able to tell. You can tell, man. My hair on my arms stood straight on end. The only other time that happened was during a very spectacular UFO sighting I had. Washington is more famous for Mount Rainier because it's a taller mountain, but Mount Adams is bigger. It's more massive. It's bigger in girth. It's the biggest mountain in the Cascade Range, and it rests on an Indian reservation. It's a holy sacred mountain to the Indian tribe, the Yakama Indians, and because of that, nobody is allowed on to Mount Adams. I lived there first 22 years of my life, I guess, and I never met anyone who'd been on Mount Adams, and it was right there. The closest road that comes to it is 16 miles, except for some old logging roads. Well, as it turns out, Mount Adams is the location of a secret alien base inside the mountain. It's a dormant volcano. And I learned that a few years ago from one of my contacts who had been stationed on Mars. His name was William Whitecrow. He passed away a couple years ago. But I saw, in 1984, I saw a confrontation between a very large alien craft and two F-16s the alien craft was about this far off the ground, and it stayed there for 42 minutes. Well, these F-16s buzzed it. They came from Fairchild over by Spokane, Washington. It took them about 20 minutes to get there. The sighting lasted 42 minutes, but it had to be the Greys. I've never been able to locate a photograph of a craft that looked like the one I saw. I thought it would be easy. The only one I've been able to find came from an Egyptian temple in the olden times, and it had two Greys standing right beside it. It was an exact match. The fighters didn't attack it, but they were mad. They were buzzing it within a few feet of it. One would go up, and the other one was turning around. And then finally, it was hovering right beside a constant care facility for morbidly disabled people. I don't know why.
Hey,
It's the last place I would have expected to ever see one. Lit up like the 4th of July. I couldn't see underneath of it because it was on the top of a hill and there were some trees planted down below. Tops of the trees were blocking the view underneath the craft. So I couldn't see what came out of it or what was taken into it. But I suspect if we did a head count at that hospital before and afterwards, it wouldn't have been the same. So a couple summers ago, there's a guy that owns a ranch up near Mount Adams. And he has kind of a conference of his own, a mini conference every summer. And somebody was up there a couple summers ago, and they were taking pictures of the mountain. They didn't know it was a base. Most people don't. I never knew it when I was growing up there. I just learned that 3 or 4 years ago. Anyways, he took taking pictures of the mountains, and he was developing them right there, you know. And the top of the mountain was opening up. You could see it in the pictures. The two rocks were together, then they opened up like this. Then he took a picture of a UFO coming at it. Quite an amazing thing. Yes, taken from Eastside Ranch. And I saw that picture within 2 or 3 minutes of the time it was taken. It's the real thing. So you don't know where these bases are, man. They're everywhere. They're places you would never expect, you know. And Dulce Base is one of the most notorious bases in the world because of the human carnage that takes place there, and because of the fact that we have apparently lost control of it to hostile aliens, reptilians. And reptilians there's nothing good about them. And they are running the show here. No matter what anyone tells you about friendly aliens going to help us advance and transcend the next level, it's bullshit, okay? It's bullshit. I've been around. It's not just bases down there. There's roadways, there's warehouses, there's weapon storage, there are ships. They've got canals coming into the tunnels. Did any of you see the picture a couple years ago of looked like an undersea base entrance off the coast of Malibu, California? Remember that? That is our base. That is our interest, not an alien base. That belongs to us. And once you go in that entrance, there are underground waterways, mostly natural, which a submarine can navigate all the way to a little lake in Arizona. Yes, all the way under California. There's a Navy base in a little lake in Arizona. Nobody knows why. It's because submarines can cruise right through to that base. Yes. Anyway, they have systematically drained the resources of this nation for decades for these alien projects. I'm going to be speaking about other alien projects on Sunday morning. You should be here if you can. You won't be disappointed. But they've systematically stripped this nation of its wealth. They've used all this drug money. They've stolen all our gold. They've done it all to build these bases for the benefit of only a few people. These bases are protected, by the way, by 25-ton blast doors, the same type that they used in Cheyenne Mountain. Pine Gap is part of it too. Absolutely. Pine Gap is an NSA base. These tunnels, I started to say, they're protected by 25-ton blast doors, the same type they used to protect Cheyenne Mountain, which was NORAD headquarters, right? They're so well balanced that one person can close these doors and seal them shut. Once they're sealed shut, it takes a direct strike from an atomic bomb to open those doors again. They cannot be, they're immune to any other type of attack, okay? And they're multiple doors. Let me get some other photos up here. But they also have holographic projections which can make it look just like a mountainside, like a rocks with a little stream flowing down it, and a street that's been mysteriously destroyed a quarter mile away that they can rebuild in 3 hours and start trucking stuff back in there. Those are logos of the CIA, the NSA, the Department of the Navy, and I can't remember the other one. But it's our secret intelligence agencies which monitor all your phone calls and electronic transmissions. The NSA has all of your voices on tape. They have every phone call you've ever made, every chat message you've ever sent. It's all recorded and it's stored forever with the idea of using it against you if they ever need to. These blast doors, they use multiple doors.
5 minutes, you guys.
It's not just one door like Cheyenne Mountain had. They use 2 or 3 doors in a row, okay? Every one of them is a 25-ton blast door. You can't get in that door. It's to keep us out. There's no one else trying to come in except us. They are expecting the people that run this world, the people that control this world. These are the pictures of the subways. Some of these maglev subways. The people that control this world, they're not expecting funny little rabbit fur aliens to come marching in to save our asses, okay? They're expecting trouble. These places are set up, stored with our money, they're stocked with supplies we've paid for, enough to stay down there for 200 to 300 years at least. At least. They are expecting something very bad that's going to make the surface world uninhabitable to occur. And they're so sure that it's going to happen that they've stripped the resources of this country to build this underground sanctuary just for themselves. We're not going to be allowed in. The elite are going to be in there, the people that control the military, that control the intelligence agencies, head of the Illuminati, and the people that they need to serve their needs. They've got hyper modern medical facilities. They've got cities with malls in them, completely empty. They've got people already living there in some of these places. They've got everything that you can imagine. They've got warehouses full of food. They've got their ability to produce their own food. They've got warehouses full of commodities, weapons. They've got ships. They've got planes. They've got, you name it. You'll never get in these places. And they are expecting to lock us out and leave us here to die. That's the plan. The maximum capacity of all these cities, if they were all fully inhabited, is less than 1 million people, okay? Now, I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I probably wouldn't have believed this myself if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, experienced it with my own self. The military and the aliens both have, there's Phil Schneider, both have access to time travel technology. It's not something that you would, there's some of the blast doors. See how there's 2 of them in a row? They can be sealed off. They can seal off every section of this place. If something goes wrong in one section, they can shut the blast doors. It has its own independent air and water system. They can seal it off from the rest so that the infection won't spread or the attack can't get past them or whatever happens, okay? So the people that run this thing, they do have the ability to distort and travel through time. I can tell you that because they've used the technology on me at least 4 times that I'm aware of during abduction events against my will. And every time it was for a different reason, and every time it was for a reason that would have never occurred to me. One example is, when I was abducted by the Greys once, this is the only memory I have of being returned home. I was floated above my bed by 2 of these Greys. I was floating.
Hey, I hope that I remember hearing him a long time ago. So he does okay. Yeah.
Uncomfortable questions. Are you becoming a hateful person? Can you honestly examine the words you use online and the pleasure you may be taking in cruelty, humiliation, and dehumanization? Do you care how your words affect other human beings? Can you acknowledge when you are wrong? Can you acknowledge when someone you dislike is right? Have you become emotionally addicted to outrage? Has ideology replaced empathy? Can you still see human beings or only enemies? History shows that hatred rarely announces itself honestly. It usually arrives disguised as righteousness. And maybe the most important question is this: can you honestly say your heart is still full of love? My friends, we are all anonymous.
You know any Jewish people? Look at the choir. It's so weird.
You were passing those horrific attacks in Golders Green.
I was in Golders Green on Wednesday morning. I've kind of had a lot of abuse online for my support of my Jewish friends. But for me personally, you know, growing up, I've had so many beautiful Jewish friends, and I still have. Being asked to kind of turn against the whole race of people is just not acceptable to me. And I'm getting a lot of abuse for it, but I don't really care. I think music is about bringing people together, not separating them. You know, and Culture Club, that's what we were in the beginning. We were a multicultural band, an Irishman, a Jewish drummer, Anglo-Saxon guitarist. You know, we were a mixture of cultures. That was the whole point of calling ourselves Culture Club. You know, we used to wear the Jewish star and have Jewish writing on our clothes. I think it's really about your relationships with people. Do you know what I mean? I don't choose my friends based on their race or their sexuality or their age. I choose people because I like them, because they're good people. And I know lots of amazing Jewish people. If you don't know any Jewish people, maybe that's the problem.
Hey, our mask guy. See what on this was. This one's 11.
Just rock, bare desert, nothing. But beneath it, Iran hid one of the most sophisticated nuclear facilities ever built, buried 80 to 90 meters underground inside solid granite behind reinforced concrete walls. The world's most powerful bunker buster bomb, the GBU-57, can penetrate about 60 meters of reinforced concrete. Fordo sits deeper than that. Iran didn't just build a nuclear facility. They built an underground city, tunnels, centrifuges, command centers, missile halls, a parallel civilization carved beneath the earth, estimated to have cost over $20 billion. And the question the world is asking right now, as bombs fall on Iran, did any of it reach what's buried down there? Today, we go inside the impossible bunker.
This is an important video, huh, you guys?
Everything starts here, the Iranian plateau, a landlocked fortress of mountains and desert, perfectly designed for hiding things underground. For over 4 decades, Iran has been building a nuclear program, first openly, then secretly, and eventually deep underground. Natanz, Iran's main enrichment site, sits 40 to 50 meters below the surface, and that was just the beginning. The logic is simple. Put it above ground and it can be bombed. Put it underground and the math changes in your favor. From the outside, the Fordo mountain looks completely unremarkable. Bare rock, desert terrain, no signs of life. But at the base of that mountain, 2 tunnel portals, blast doors, and the entrance to one of the most fortified structures ever built. Fordo sits 80 to 90 meters underground, the equivalent of burying it beneath a 25-story building made of solid granite. Once inside, a vehicle-capable tunnel leads deep into the mountain, wide enough for trucks, reinforced against collapse. The mountain itself is the first layer of defense, 80 to 90 meters of granite absorbing blast energy before it reaches anything critical. Then comes reinforced concrete, multiple thick layers added during construction to harden the facility further. Inside the underground halls, rows of centrifuges. Fordo was designed to hold approximately 3,000 centrifuges across 2 main enrichment halls. Each centrifuge is a precision machine, a
7
spinning
minutes.
rotor that separates uranium isotopes by using centrifugal force. Feed uranium hexafluoride gas into the centrifuge, spin it fast enough, and lighter U-235 concentrates at the center. That's enrichment. Connect 164 centrifuges in a cascade, and each stage multiplies the enrichment level, building toward weapons-grade material step by step. To keep it all running, a facility this size needs enormous power, transformers, generators, and backup systems, all buried alongside the centrifuges. Ventilation is another hidden engineering challenge. Maintaining breathable air for workers and stable temperature for machines, deep inside a sealed mountain. Cooling systems prevent the centrifuges from overheating piped water and heat exchangers, all engineered for permanent underground operation. And Fordo is only one node. Across Iran, underground missile bases, officially called missile cities, exist in every single province. Inside these missile tunnels, ballistic missiles on mobile launchers, stored in rows inside tunnels 6 to 10 meters high and 6 meters wide. The launchers can drive out through tunnel exits, fire and return underground, fire and hide, making them nearly impossible to permanently destroy. This isn't localized. It's a national underground military infrastructure spanning the entire country, designed to survive any air campaign. Meanwhile, even Natanz went deeper. Satellite analysis revealed new tunnel construction reaching 80 to 100 meters, matching or exceeding Fordo's depth. These facilities are found from space by analyzing subtle clues, Earth excavation debris, heat signatures, and vehicle movement patterns. The construction itself is a massive logistics operation, tunneling machines, rock conveyors, and months of heavy machinery work before a single centrifuge goes in. The blast doors alone are an engineering achievement, multi-ton steel structures designed to withstand the overpressure wave from a nearby surface explosion. Fordo is built near Qom, one of Iran's most sacred cities. Placing it there adds political sensitivity to any strike targeting it. Construction reportedly began in secret as early as 2002, continued for years without international knowledge, and was discovered by US, UK, and French intelligence in 2009. Satellite analysts noticed unusual excavation debris and vehicle patterns near an unremarkable mountain, the first hint that something enormous was being built underneath. In September 2009, US President Obama, French President Sarkozy, and British Prime Minister Brown simultaneously revealed the existence of Fordo to the world. Archives later revealed the facility was originally designed for weapons-grade uranium production, not just civilian enrichment. Fast forward to February 2026, just days before the US-Israel strikes, satellite imagery showed Iran pouring fresh concrete shields at Parchin, racing to harden even more. Iran knew strikes were coming and spent the final weeks burying everything that could be buried, a desperate race against time and air power. The weapon designed to reach these facilities is the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, 6.2 meters long, weighing over 13,000 kilograms, the largest conventional bomb ever built. Only one aircraft can carry it, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, which can fly undetected to any target on Earth. A B-2 strike mission from Diego Garcia to Iran covers thousands of miles, multiple aerial refueling stops, extreme crew endurance, precision navigation. The GBU-57 is released. GPS-guided fins adjust its trajectory, and it impacts the target at maximum penetrating velocity. Maximum confirmed penetration for the GBU-57, approximately 60 meters of reinforced concrete. Fordo sits at 80 to 90 meters. The gap is real. The tactic to compensate: drop multiple bombs in the same spot sequentially, each one drilling deeper into the crater left by the previous hit. Every generation of Iranian underground facilities goes deeper. Natanz at 40 to 50 meters, Fordo at 80 to 90. New Natanz tunnels reportedly reaching 80 to 100 meters. Iran is already reported to be building new facilities deeper than Fordo, designed specifically to be unreachable by current bunker-busting technology. Rock type matters. Fordo's mountain is granite, which is harder than the concrete the GBU-57 was designed to penetrate, making it even more resilient. The most successful attack on Iran's nuclear program wasn't a bomb. It was a line of code. Stuxnet, a cyber weapon, destroyed approximately 1,000 centrifuges at Natanz between 2009 and 2010. A piece of software did more damage than any bomb had managed, by targeting the centrifuge control systems directly, making them self-destruct. Iran's response to Stuxnet: rebuild faster, with more advanced centrifuges, and move even more of the program underground. Iran was enriching uranium to 60% purity before the 2025 strikes. 90% is weapons grade, making it technically only one step away from a bomb-ready material. That 60% enrichment level was itself a deliberate provocation, close enough to weapons capability to be threatening, not close enough to be a clear red line. IAEA inspectors had been monitoring Iran's facilities, but Iran had progressively restricted access, reducing transparency in the years before the strikes. In June 2025, the U.S. launched its first strike.
Okay. Another important one there. I was texting Jacqueline, tell her I was on. She just came on Telegram. Yeah, I got a 5-minute one.
Routes. Britain controlled sea lanes. America controlled oil. And today, in 2026, the thing the world needs most is something most people have never held in their hands: a semiconductor chip. Smaller than a fingernail, found in every smartphone, every car, every missile, every AI server on the planet. For 4 decades, only a handful of countries knew how to make them, and they used that knowledge like a weapon. China spent 30 years and hundreds of billions trying to crack it. They haven't. Not fully. And while the world was watching China struggle, India just made a move that almost nobody saw coming. India's 2 pillars: the Silicon move and the deep sea gamble. There's a concept every serious geopolitician understands but rarely speaks about plainly: strategic vulnerability. It means this: if you depend on another country for something your nation cannot survive without food, fuel, chips, weapons, then you are not truly sovereign. You are, at best, a very polite hostage. India has known this for a long time. In 2022, when the global semiconductor shortage hit, Indian factories making cars, phones, and appliances found themselves stuck waiting for chips that never came, from factories they didn't own, in countries they had no leverage over. The same year when Russia invaded Ukraine, global oil prices exploded. India, which imports more than 85% of its oil, saw fuel prices spike across the board. Inflation crept into kitchens, cooking gas, diesel, kerosene. 2 crises, 2 weaknesses, both rooted in the same problem. India was dependent on chips it didn't make, on oil it didn't drill. And in the 21st century, dependence is not just an economic problem, it is a security threat. So India decided to act, not in one move, but in 2 almost simultaneously. The first pillar, semiconductors. The second pillar, energy. This is the story of both. Pillar 1, the Silicon Move. To understand why what happened in the Netherlands on May 16th, 2026 was so significant, one needs to understand what a semiconductor chip is and why it's so brutally difficult to make. A modern processor contains billions of transistors on a piece of silicon the size of a thumbnail. These transistors are measured in nanometers, 1/1000th of a meter. The latest chips from Taiwan's TSMC operate at 3 nanometers. A strand of human DNA is about 2.5 nanometers wide. Etching patterns at that scale requires one of the most complex machines ever built. It is called a lithography machine. Think of it as an extraordinarily precise printer for circuits. It uses extreme ultraviolet light radiation that doesn't exist naturally on Earth's surface to trace circuit patterns onto silicon wafers with atomic precision. Only one company in the world manufactures these EUV machines at scale. ASML, based in Veldhoven, the Netherlands. A single machine costs approximately $200 million US. It contains over 100,000 parts sourced from 5,000 suppliers across 16 countries. Without ASML's machines, there are no advanced chips. No chips, no AI. No chips, no smartphones. No chips, no guided missiles. ASML is, quietly, one of the most strategically important companies on Earth. In 2019, the United States placed ASML at the center of one of the most effective economic weapons in modern history. Washington used its influence and the fact that ASML's supply chain runs through American allied nations to block ASML from exporting its EUV machines to China. The logic was simple. No EUV lithography means no advanced chips. No advanced chips means no cutting-edge AI, no next-generation weapons, no 21st century power. China launched the National Integrated Circuit Industry Investment Fund, pouring hundreds of billions of yuan into building its own lithography capability. As of 2026, they have not succeeded. SMIC, China's best chip maker, has managed some 7-nanometer chips, but inconsistently, slowly, and without EUV. The chip war between America and China is fundamentally a war over who controls ASML's technology. For years, India sat outside all of this, not as a player, as a spectator.
Okay, that's another good one, important one. Okay, we got about 18 minutes left.
Today because it is the 11th day out of the 9th month on their calendar, which makes it 9/11. Nor is it a coincidence that Trump started his State of the Union address at 9/11 p.m. and in front of the 119th Congress. Now, a pretty significant event is about to happen on March the 3rd. It is a blood moon, and like I said, for the past 3 years, there has been a blood moon on Purim, and this is the last one. And it will peak at 6:33 Eastern Time and 3:33 Pacific Standard Time. But that's not the wildest part. This article says, see the impossible as sunrise and a total lunar eclipse appear at the same time on March the 3rd. A rare atmospheric effect called selenelion, where people will be able to see a rising sun and a blood moon at the same time. The entire eclipse is going to be visible in the pink, but people on the East Coast are going to be able to see this. This is literally called an impossible eclipse. And it's happening March the 3rd. We all know Iran Supreme Leader Khamenei was executed today, and he was born on an annual solar eclipse. We know the day Donald Trump was born, there was a blood moon. Benjamin Netanyahu, there was an annual solar eclipse when he was born. Now, is this a sign of what's coming next? I don't know. But we know that the Lord said that there would be signs. I find it not a coincidence at all that the U.S. decided to strike Iran.
Yeah, you got one more with her. Wait a minute. Can't remember. Sorry, guys. Hold on. I'll play that one later. I had two of her. All right. I want to play this one. We'll play this one.
Video that I put out yesterday, my last video about Trump's new immigration laws. I just want to clarify this because a lot of people have been messaging me saying, well, what about my son-in-law that came over and married my daughter? What about my daughter-in-law that came over and married my son? Or this elderly couple that's been here for 60 years. If somebody's been here 60 years, they probably should have gotten permanent residency by now or became a United States citizen if they were worried about ever being deported back to the country they originated from. But this is for any citizen, any United States citizen, or anyone that currently holds a green card. If you have permanent residency, you are not going to be sent back. That is not the case. This is for people that have started the process here. They've done the application and they do not currently hold that green card in their hand. People like that. People here on student visas, people here on work visas, people that are not United States citizens, they do not have permanent residency, they're going to have to go back. So, and it's not that they can't come back here. They can. They have to go back to the country they originated from, wherever they're from, do the process there. Once they're approved, then they can come back to America once they're approved from the country they originated from. But like I said, for anybody that has got permanent residency, you got a green card, or you're a United States citizen, you're fine. They're not sending any of those people back. You have dual citizenship, you're fine. This is for people in the process or people that have not even started the process and they're here on these temporary student visas, work visas. They're going to have to go back. And people think that it's going to take a long time. Oh, it's going to take forever. They're never going to get all these people. The Trump administration does not play around. It is not going to take that long. They know who holds these visas. They know who hasn't applied for anything. Believe me, this is going to happen quicker than people think. Like I said yesterday in that video, NESARA is not going to roll out until people are back. So this is one of the ways for them to get more people back to the country they originated from. So that can roll out for everyone. It's globally. Globally. Okay? Anyways, have a great day.
Oh, she finally got one out. Okay, let's see how long Trish's video is. This will be the last one. This is 7 minutes. I'll be back at 7.
Paid by? That's one of the questions that our Treasury Department is asking right now, because it would put them in violation, if you would, of U.S. sanctions. Yes, you have another one of the co-founders, a woman named, last name, I think her first name is Medea Benjamin, and Hassan Piker, that were just down in Cuba trying to call attention to, oh, we've got to support the Cuban right. Are you kidding me? You want to support a communist regime? Well, guess what? Guys, you can't do that under U.S. law, and the Treasury Department is not stupid, all right? They're going to figure all this out. And if you look at what, you can and cannot do, let's just say there's a lot of stuff that you guys are accused of doing that you can't do. For example, any kind of financial dealing. So if you paid for travel, if you paid for a hotel, logistics, delivering goods, anything there that would be considered controlled entities, guess what? You can't, okay? You can't. Staying at prohibited hotels. So I do recall you stayed at some sort of luxury hotel. If that was a prohibited hotel, you're in trouble. And by the way, Treasury Department doesn't mess around with this kind of stuff. Oopsie daisy, whoops, I screwed up. I didn't realize I stayed at that hotel. Boom, you're done, okay? There is no tolerance for this because this is effectively sanctioned violations, direct or indirect support to the regime, providing aid that ends up under Cuban government control or coordination with regime officials. I also question about information, like control of information. If you're down there, basically serving as a funnel for that regime, a regime that's sanctioned. Are you really able to do that? I don't think so. Okay, I don't think so. And certainly not if you were taking any kind of money. You see down at the bottom there, Foreign Agents Restricted Registration Act, Foreign Agents Registration Act. We've been talking about this a lot, FARA, and that's failing to register as a foreign agent if you were coordinating political messaging or activities on behalf of Cuba. This is something that has come up recently vis-a-vis the representative I'm blanking on her name. This is one of my, I call them my Joe Biden moments, right? The woman from the Midwest, begins with a P. Anyway, she's in a lot of trouble right now because she was effectively coordinating, they believe, possibly with Russia and certainly with Mexico. She admitted to that, to trying to get supplies to Cuba. Well, you can't really do that, not if, and it is actually not an if, this country is sanctioned by the likes of the US. So all of this stuff is turning out to be a very, very, very big deal right now. A very big deal that is going to land all of these people, I suspect, in a whole lot of trouble, including what's her name? Oh, Payawal, that was who I meant. But the other what's her name is the young daughter of one Ilhan Omar that we have all suspected had something nefarious possibly going on. And why was she down there doing this? Hassan Piker, this is this absolutely nut job of an influencer who was just down there kind of leading the whole brigade there in Cuba most recently. And as this story broke, it first came to light vis-a-vis Fox News. Hassan had a few things to say about it, none of which makes sense. I'll explain, but you might as well hear from this guy himself.
This is why it's it's insane, but also kind of funny in a weird way. Whenever people are like, "Oh, I bet you're getting paid by the Cuban government," bro. They don't have money. With what money? You think they got money? Are you insane? It's one of those things where I can't tell if people are just like so used to only at advancing causes for monetary reasons, like they just can't possibly fathom the idea that someone would want to genuinely help the Cuban population, genuinely demand that we stop, killing Cubans with our economic terrorism, right? Like, what money do they have to give me money? You know what I mean? It's very stupid.
Okay, they do have money. They actually have quite a bit of money. Medea Benjamin is one of those ones. She has like $51 million with her Code Pink organization and apparently is getting a lot of the money. It is believed from China. Don't forget that Jody Evans, I've showed you guys her before. Jody Evans, do we have a picture of her? We may not, but here's her co-founder. Okay, so there's Jody Evans, and then there is this woman, Medea Benjamin, and they co-founded this Code Pink thing. And they're the ones that have all this money, $51 million. Again, part of this is believed to be coming from China because Jody Evans is married to Neville Singman, who is effectively, it is believed to be a Chinese spy. He's American. He lives in China, but he's doing all kinds of things on behalf of China. And it's why we have our House Ethics Intelligence Committee actually calling him in for questioning, and he won't come back into the country. Why? Because, he is believed to be in violation of all these various things. So, yeah, I think actually some of these influencers could get paid and might be getting paid. And they'll say, oh, well, Cuba's not paying us, but maybe this organization run by Medea Benjamin, who's president of Arc of Justice Foundation, also works with Code Pink and has $51 million at her disposal. So she apparently also is in trouble, and they're investigating her there at Treasury because she made a series of trips between 2009 and 2012 to meet with Hamas officials. Hamas, the known terror organization, and it is alleged that she was actually coordinating with them. So again, this gets back to things like Foreign Agent Registration Act violations. If you're not registering as a foreign agent and you're working on behalf of these regimes, including sanctioned regimes, and you're going to have yourself a problem. Because even if you wanted to, okay, like even if you say, okay, well, I'm going to do this because I'm not getting paid. It's just, I'm going to give them free. You still are at risk because it is a sanctioned country of being in violation of these FARA agreements. And so this is something that's coming up, and they're conducting a massive investigation into this right now. And I think this thing is going to have some pretty big tentacles, including, of course, Ilhan Omar and her daughter, who was just down there with this whole group, and the rest of them, because this is very, very serious stuff. So good luck. Hassan, I hope you're right. I hope that they didn't pay you anything, and I hope you didn't pay them anything by way of the hotel, etc., etc.
Okay. All right, you guys. Well, we had a lot of good stuff, and we'll go 3 more hours tonight. A lot of good stuff to get out. Nothing's going on, so I might as well stay on. Up more videos. I got 2 of the YouTube lady tonight. Okay, she has 2 20-minute ones, I think. So everybody have a good dinner tonight. We'll see you after dinner time. Thanks, Bob, Kay, Flygo, Lucy, Carol, Tim, and JJ. I see you. I don't know what video I sent you, but yeah, there's a lot of good videos for you on Telegram. So God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit the like. Be safe, stay rock, faith. There we go. And signing off, show number 1 for Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. Tuesday. Yeah, there was one I had a clip on. I wasn't sure which one should I play. Can you send me the one that I don't know if I should play or not, because I think it's an hour. I don't know if it's worth playing that or not. So I wasn't sure. But enough for Taco Tuesday. So we'll all see you around 7. Chico and Dude signing off.